Hi guys, my name is Roger, and ever since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to build my own car. I started this channel to see if an average person, like me, can design and build their own mid-engine car. If you like what you see here in my videos, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you know someone who you think might be interested in my videos, please share the videos with them. I'll be adding a new video every week, and with that out of the way, let's get started with this week's video.
I ordered parts to switch these two radiator tubes. I'm going to switch them temporarily and make sure that everything works correctly before I take the time to switch them the correct way. For right now, I'm just going to switch these two tubes, the rubber tubes, onto the metal pipes using some adapters, some couplings, and just to verify that the water flows correctly up through the radiators and the system cools. And once I know for sure, then I need to switch these two aluminum tubes in the car. There is an 1.25 and an 1.5 tube, and I have them in the wrong position. And it's going to take a little bit of work to switch them. The one on the top inside the car is pretty easy. It's not running through any holes or attached to anything permanent. But the one under the car is running through 3 or 4 different holes through aluminum tubing that will need to be opened up to a little bit larger size. So while we are waiting on those parts to come in and before we get started on that, the next thing I need to do is model the rear glass and the windshield. This is the windshield laying here, and I had mentioned this before that I was going to have a friend 3D scan them, and I talked to him a while back. He did the door glass and had some trouble with it not being white. It was reflecting the laser. He asked me if I could paint the two and get them back to him, and because I was so busy and took a long time, once I got these painted and contacted him and told him they were ready, he said that he had sold his company in January and no longer had access to the scanner. So that is my fault. I waited too long. I should have made it more of a priority. I would have had these modeled in the computer, but now I need to do these the hard way, which is trace these. I guess I'm going to trace the perimeter onto this wood using this tool that I made here. It has an ink pen center in it running through a hole here in the bottom, and I can walk this around the edge of this glass and it'll draw the perimeter on this wood. And then I'll need to take measurements like every inch or so on a grid and measure from the wood surface up to the glass. And then I can model a surface on the computer that is the correct shape and then come back and cut the perimeter size to match exactly. I'm starting with a smaller, a little more simple rear glass, and if it works correctly and I'm happy with the outcome, then I'm going to do the windshield. The windshield won't quite fit on this piece of wood, but it's a mirror image, so I really only need to model half of it. In fact, I'll probably only model half of this and just mirror it also. That'll work fine. But I'm not going to bore you with all of this, but I am going to set the camera up and film just a little bit of this and show you how I'm doing it. So I guess let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, let me show you what I've done here. Maybe kind of hard to see, but I've traced the windshield shape. It's on here. It's kind of a faint line, but it's all the way around. And then I broke the entire board up into a half. I'm going to just model half and mirror it. So I have a 1-inch square grid pattern here, and all of the lines are numbered. And I'll be able to come across, I'll draw this grid on my computer and come across and plot points all the way around the perimeter. And then I'll lay the glass back up here and measure off each spot up. So I'll have the height of that edge of the glass all the way around the perimeter, or I'll just do half of it. And then I can model that in SolidWorks off of a surface, plot points, and then grow a line vertically the correct height off each point around the perimeter. And I can create a surface off of that, and then once the surface is made, I can come back around the outside of this edge and cut that surface off, and it'll create the shape of this glass. Now, of course, it won't be perfect. Let's see some of my lines. I mean, I don't know. They're just not perfect on here. They're all 5 or 10 thousandths in places, but 5 or 10 thousandths is nothing on this model. As long as I'm within, I don't know, 20 or 25 thousandths on each point, I should be fine. If you'll look at any production car, the shape of the glass to the body is not perfect. The shape of the door to the fender or a quarter panel is not perfect. They just don't align perfectly. But anything within 20 thousandths or so, you'll never see. It's very hard. The only way you can see some of them on production cars is if the sun is shining across them just right. All right, I want to show you guys what I accomplished this week. And I know it was probably boring to watch on video, but it was something that I've been putting off for a while and needed to get finished. But we modeled the windshield and back glass for the car. And this is the back glass. And it turned out pretty nice. There's a curvature thing here I can turn on, and it shows any bad curvature or lines. You want it to be solid black. Anything that's kind of distorted will turn a different color. So this turned out really nice. There's also a feature here you can turn on zebra stripes, and again, if there's anything really distorted, it'll show up. This is kind of like a high gloss reflection, so you can see everything is pretty smooth, nice flowing lines. And let's go over to the windshield and I'll show you kind of how I did this. You saw me lay this on the wood and trace around the perimeter of it. You can see this perimeter sketch right here around the glass. That is exact perimeter shape of the glass, and once I had that, I measured up from several locations. You can see these vertical lines here measuring up to points, and I used those points to create sketches like this that define the shape of the glass. And then once I get the shape correct, I extrude a surface to that shape that's larger than the glass itself, and then I come back and use the perimeter sketch and trim that windshield down. And the way you check to see if it's correct is all of these points is measured up from the table should touch around the perimeter of this glass. And everything looks really close. Let me hide some sketches here. Okay, and with all the sketches hidden, this is our windshield. And again, we can come up here and check. And you can see it's mostly solid black. It has a little tiny bit of distortion in the corners. And if we look at it with our zebra stripes, pretty smooth flowing lines. I know the corners are slightly distorted, but I believe they're close enough to do what we need to do. And once I had these glasses modeled, I inserted them into my main assembly of the car here. And you can see, that was nice. You can see that they fit rather well. You can start to get a profile view of the car and see kind of what it's going to look like. I'm ignoring this door glass. It's not quite in the correct position yet. I need to finish that today. And I have one more thing to show. Where is it? Oh. This is a car body part that I had purchased a file on a car that I like, just kind of getting some reference geometry. I imported this and scaled it to where it fit on my car body, and I had to scale it in all three axes, X, Y, and Z, to get it to fit correctly, and overlaid it on my design here just to see kind of what it would look like, giving it a little bit of shape. You can sort of see the layout of the body starting to take place, and this is just for reference. This is not exactly the way the body is going to be shaped, but I was just using this as a template to get an idea that everything was in the correct position. But that's what we accomplished this week, and the only thing left for me to do, I'll finish up this door today, and then I need to start working on modeling the headlights and taillights. And actually, the taillights I have bought, they came in. This is one of the tail lights. I stumbled across this. This is an aftermarket light for a new Camaro, and it is different enough from the Camaro tail lights that it's kind of not obvious to most people. I'd say 99% of the people out here, when they see this, will have no idea what it came off of or it fits. And I like that, so they won't know that I've stole them off of another car, and I like the shape and the look of it. And this is what we're going to use. So next week I'm going to start working on these wiring harnesses. I've got to figure out exactly a game plan to use these harnesses, and most likely I will make new fuse boxes and not use these two factory ones, because I'm only going to use about half of the fuses and relays that are in these, so I want to try to slim them down. And also here on the car, I was hoping to try to solve the cooling issue we have, and I have ordered a larger header tank. It's similar to this, but it's at least twice as large as that, maybe 3 times as large. And I was expecting it to already be here to come in so we could start testing and seeing if this solves the cooling issue, but it hasn't arrived yet. It's going to be here in 2 more days. So that is something we'll be working on next week, in next week's video. And I think I have a solution to the cooling issue. I also bought a pump here in this box that will pull the air out of the system. One of the issues we're having is there's air trapped in the system in various points that I'm not able to get out. But you can hook an air compressor up to this, and it will pull a vacuum on the system and suck all of the air out of the system. And then when you reverse the valve, the vacuum pulls the coolant, water, the coolant, back into the radiator system and fills it and doesn't leave any voids, so there's no air trapped in it. And once we have the header tank and this vacuum system on it, I am thinking and hoping that that will solve my cooling issues. But anyway, I'll see you guys again next week, and we will try to get this cooling solved and maybe get started on the wiring harness, at least the layout. See you guys next week.